and welcome back to part 2 of the Wild West in The Sims 4. This week we are going to be building a carpenter shop, a general store, a restaurant, and a barber shop. And for those of you that don't know, I'm Penny, this is Flynn the Cockatiel, and this is my husband Tom that is making a reappearance this week.
Hello.
So the first shop we're going to be building is the Carpenter Shop. I mean, we're just getting things kind of laid out right now, but Carpenter Shop is number 1.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I know a request from last week from you was...
The Undertaker.
Yeah, or someone that made coffins.
Yep.
So with a little bit of research into things, I discovered it was the local carpenter that was the one that would basically make coffins on demand. And obviously making furniture and yes, cabinets.
Yep.
That was something else that you mentioned, maybe like the cabinet maker. Yeah, the carpenter did it all.
Yep, he was a busy man with all the wood. Everything had to be made for people because you couldn't just go out to Amazon anymore.
Or IKEA.
Yep. So the quality was better.
Yeah.
All the dovetail joints, everything. Nice.
Yeah, once upon a time you were kind of into carpentry, and then that kind of stopped.
Yeah, well, I had all these nice tools from your family and it was in the handmade cabinet that he built for tool chest, and with all the really nice joints in there. And the first thing I tried was to make a birdhouse, and that failed pretty miserably, and I took that failure hard.
But the thing is, I mean, a first for you and a first for like so many people and whatever it is that you're doing. What are the chances that it's going to turn out exactly how you want it to be? You have to keep working at it, and eventually you'll get a birdhouse that you're like, yeah, this is not bad. Right, Flynn?
Yeah, and in a few years it'll fall apart anyways, and then can start over.
Yeah, I mean, it's wood. It's gonna happen.
Yep. So this was a pretty cool part of the build. It reminded me of when we were in Montrose and looking at all the antique stores.
Montrose, Colorado.
Yep.
For the audience that doesn't know where Montrose is.
I thought everybody knows that. But, yeah, so all these buildings were with this old style wood construction, and it was pretty neat. So it brought me back.
So this kind of puts you back to Montrose. Yeah, more deserty like this, high desert.
Yep.
Yeah, and you know what? I didn't really think too much of Montrose when I was building this, which is interesting.
Yep.
There's not a ton of like buildings that are necessarily like this. I mean, yeah, that antique mall kind of has like done on purpose to look like an old Western town.
Yeah.
I don't know that it's actually old. I don't know. We've never asked.
Yeah, that's true. But not far from there is Ridgeway, which was the setting for the movie True Grit that we just watched.
Yeah, with John Wayne.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. Being able to reminisce and remember our times in Uray County.
Well, I remember when we were in Ridgeway, the first time we were there, we had no idea that that's where the film was filmed. The movie was filmed.
Yeah.
And we went into like the local burger joint because Ridgeway is not very big. And it was basically a restaurant kind of memorializing the movie. And so there's John Wayne pictures like everywhere. So that was just, it was kind of fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, rewatching the original True Grit, because there's a remake of that. So the original with John Wayne, some of the parts of the movie, we were both kind of like, that totally looks like that area. And we did horseback riding up in the mountains in that area, and I'm like, I really think they were in Uray. Like, this totally looks like that, and the mountains like in the distance. And yeah, that brought back good memories. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Something I noticed, I don't know if it was a sign of evidence to global warming and climate change, but the grass in Ridgeway was incredibly green. compared to the years that we've been going and visiting that area, it's all kind of burnt out and just looks like the land is devastated.
Well, okay, one, they could have put down sod for the movie to make it look good. Two, there is sod farms out there that get a lot of water on purpose.
True.
And it's like right on a big river.
Yeah,
so
the crystal.
there is water. It's just, I always find that so strange. Maybe it's just the rocky soil and rocky composition that it doesn't hold moisture, but there is water there. It's not like it's a complete desert.
Yeah.
But it looks deserty.
Yeah, especially towards Montrose.
Yeah. So I will quickly mention about the build here. I had put in like a ton of little wood sculptures that maybe you saw that going in. And then I completely changed my mind. I just didn't like how it looked, and I just added more boards because I'm like, you know what, this is just, I felt like that's the station of being able to build and take down all that wood and work with, and I don't know. And like you said, all that stuff takes a lot of time. Maybe they don't have that much stuff in the store. This kind of stuff was just things that were done, and maybe people come in and look for something specific that they need. And yeah, the rocking chairs, which gotta have rocking chairs. Oh yeah, so something else I should mention. I didn't do like a ton of research into it, but did you know that there's a difference between a coffin and a casket?
Was it money? Like one was more expensive than the other?
Not to my knowledge. So a coffin is 6-sided and a casket is 4-sided. So the coffins were used during this time period, and unfortunately in the game I'm using caskets because that's all we have available. But I don't know, I just thought that was kind of an interesting little fact. And I don't really know the reason why. I don't know. Just maybe things changing over time.
So the 6-sided was first?
Yep.
Okay.
At least during this time period. I know I did research into there being like caskets like way back to like thousands of years ago in China, and then I mean like you got the sarcophagus in Egypt, which is that rectangular. So I don't necessarily know where like the coffin aspect came from, but obviously yeah, it's to fit the shoulders and then go down to a point at the feet. I don't know if it was less materials. You'd think that would be more work to get everything lined up and cut versus just like a box.
Well, in the older times, people were more skilled laborers, and so they liked a challenge, I think.
Yeah, very true.
Yep.
We're just finishing up the Carpenter Shop here, getting those coffins, caskets, I should say, out. You know, coffins for sale. And then we're going to be moving on to the general store, which is right next door on the first level.
You know, getting back to like the coffins, it just kind of goes to reminding me that I did a little bit of research on some history. So back in the time of Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday, there was a saying that Doc Holliday used, and when we were in Glenwood Springs, a lot of the touristy shops, they would have stuff on there with I'm your Huckleberry. Do you remember that phrase, I'm your Huckleberry?
I don't remember that, no.
So I'm your Huckleberry is an old Southern, not slang, but old Southern term that was used. That was like, I'm your man, or let's see.
You're my Huckleberry, so that's what
Yeah.
I should call you.
Yeah. Or I can do the job. So
Interesting.
in the movie, he actually did use those terms and that phrase quite often, and it was true that he used that from records.
So
and-
basically, he was saying like, I'm your Huckleberry, I'm the man for the job, kind of a thing. Is that what it
Yeah.
meant? Okay.
In this instance, he wasn't referring to it in an affectionate way. It was more of when somebody wanted to challenge him or get upset with him, he was like, "Bring it on."
Okay.
I'm ready for the job, and a lot of people would turn him down because of that.
Interesting. So that was Southern slang, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know where he was born? I don't actually know.
I don't know, but I did find out that Wyatt Earp and Doc Holliday first met about 4 or 5 years before the gunfight at the OK Corral,
Okay.
or before he died. So, do you know how old he was when he died?
No, was he a lot older than what we're expecting?
Doc Holliday?
Yeah.
Doc Holliday actually died in his mid-30s, mid to lower 30s.
Wow.
Do you remember what it was from?
Tuberculosis.
Yep.
Well, because that was another thing I remember, because we talked about last week visiting his grave, or the area where he was buried, but then also that area of Glenwood Springs, Colorado, was the reason why, well, he came there to treat the tuberculosis in the vapor caves, which we've been to, and that's really cool.
Yeah. And I guess the last words that he said was kind of, I guess he asked for whiskey. And the last words that he uttered were, "Well, this is funny." So he always thought he'd die with his boots on in a gunfight. And he was in a bed with being able to see his feet. So then he's like, "This is funny," and then he died.
Wow.
So if it's accurate, who knows?
Or it could be just a story, so it's not like a for sure fact.
Yeah, I mean, they say it happened, but,
Stories are told over time, things are exaggerated, yeah.
Yeah, we all have our fish stories. So, yeah. And then how old do you think Wyatt Earp was when he died? Around.
I have no idea.
I think he died in 1927, which put him, I think, at 80 years old.
Wow, okay, so I was gonna guess like it was gonna be flip-flopped, but I mean, back then, considering like, yeah, dealing with tuberculosis and diseases and not really knowing how to treat things like that back then, 80 years old is old.
Yeah.
Surprising.
Especially leading such a dangerous life.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So, just kind of talking about the build again. So we're obviously in the general store still, and as I'm building this, I'm just picturing walking in here and the floor is creaking. Like, it's that floor. You know it's that floor.
Yes.
Did it creak way back when, though? You know it was nailed in. They didn't have screws. And, nails loosen and then you get creaky floors. I have a feeling it was probably not creaky then, but if you were to go into this nowadays, yes, that creaky floor. Which, those antique shops.
Yep.
Which, like, we don't really know how old those are in Montrose that we like going to. It, like, it has that kind of this feel and look to it, and I always just assumed it was newer, but is some of it older? Because some of them have really old creaky floors, and I never really thought about that.
Yeah, I guess next time we're out there we'll have to ask.
Yeah, and then one of the shops towards the end has like a box car with just random antiques in it. That place is always really interesting.
Yeah.
And you've always come back with souvenirs from there. Like, we always find something cool.
Yep. I'm always looking for belt buckles.
Yeah, and I found a belt and a belt buckle the last time we were there, so that was pretty cool.
Yep. Well, I wonder if they, like in the construction of these old western towns, if they allowed the wood to dry out a lot before they would start using it, or if they cut all the wood for the project. I don't know. Because when there's more moisture in there, it's going to react differently than when it dries out, and then you're going to have more creaking because the wood isn't stable until the moisture content is lower.
Something tells me it would dry out really quick in that environment just because it is dry. I don't know how long you'd have to wait. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's not something I would have I wouldn't have thought of that necessarily. This is how your mind works, I guess, doing carpentry.
No.
See?
Tried to do carpentry.
You can always go back to it again, you know?
We still have the tools.
Yep. So right here, I'm just setting out some, basic stuff that, although I don't know if you would have found like yellow bell peppers in this area. That might, I don't know. I tried to put things in that would be kind of like you would normally find during this time period. You're not gonna have any fancy produce, but I also kind of was limited with stuff we have in the game. So we have like onions and apples and tomatoes, and then there was asparagus, which I don't know. I don't know what you would normally find.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it'd be very limited, although this place is pretty big. It kind of has everything, and I was definitely going for that. One of the places that this had everything you need. And as I was building this, I was kind of thinking of Little House on the Prairie. So, that was the general store. They had like a little bit of everything in that store. Because where else are you going to go to get stuff?
Yeah.
You don't necessarily have not the supermarkets today where you have 10 different options. Like you have one option, but at least you can get it. Or like your fabric, that was supposed to be fabric bolts. You can at least have fabric to make a dress. You just might not be able to get the color you want. And that's the way things were.
Yeah. So in this part of the build, I made the realization that you kind of went away from this being an old Western town.
Okay, well, we're in the restaurant.
Yeah.
We can talk about this as we're building. So we have the hostess station there.
Mm-hmm.
The only way to get this to work as a restaurant is to have that.
Okay.
So if you want this to work as a restaurant, you need that. If you don't want that there, you can get rid of it, and that's why I included it.
Okay.
I didn't want to, but I had to do that. But
Yeah.
I figured this restaurant is probably where all the working men come to get their food, and I figured this is run by women, so it's a little bit more of a girly woman's touch with the florally.
Yeah,
These tough guys coming into this area with flowers, which there's nothing wrong with that, but it's back then that typical tough guy appearance would not include flowers.
Well, I'm pretty sure the host would tell them to go and bathe before they come in and mess up their area. If you want to look like you are and smell like you are, you better go to the saloon.
Well, that's why we have the bathhouse.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then you don't see it on camera. Unfortunately, I changed it at the end. I wanted a fireplace in here. I'm like, something is missing. So on the opposite wall of here, there's a fireplace now. Yeah, it would be cozy and comfy, and fireplace would help keep it warm, so I put that in there. But I just figured, you know what? This is basically just a huge dining hall where, yeah, all the working men can come to get a meal. The kitchen's in the back. I did put in a couple little bathrooms there, just because I think that's a little bit better for gameplay. Otherwise, I tried to limit bathrooms because, trying to keep it realistic as best as I can do in The Sims.
Yeah.
I like to keep things realistic. So then, after the restaurant, which it's not anything super fancy. It's pretty basic. Then we have the barber shop. And I do have to address that too. So we have an item in the game that you can do other Sims hair and makeup and all that kind of stuff. But it's very modern. And I debated, do I put that in? And I'm like, you know what? No, I can't do it. It's just gonna look so out of place. So I just have bar stools in there. If you want to use it as a place where you can have your Sims come for makeovers or haircuts, you can add that in. But I knew that would just totally ruin the look.
Right.
And then I don't know, as if you saw watching this before, and the audience will see in a little bit. So for putting in clutter and all the stuff that you would find in a barber shop, I had to do some kind of blade and the foam and the brush, because you come here to get your your beard trimmed or shaved, and I used a cupcake to look like foam on the top of the mug.
That's funny.
But yeah, this is something that you actually had done, was going in for like, what is it actually? Like the straight edge razor? Is that like what they call it?
A straight razor shave, yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Because that was kind of something you always wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll have to tell the audience a little bit about that, since I wasn't with you, so, and I don't shave my face. So what was that like?
Yeah, I think I had it done. Have I had it done twice, 2 or 3 times in my life? The first time we were out in the country of Cyprus, and
Wait, you had it done there?
did I have it done there? Well, I went to an old barber shop.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. And I don't remember. I thought I did get a straight shave, but maybe not.
Okay.
But nobody. They didn't speak English very well. Mainly Greek speaking. And it just had a very old feel to it. And so
That's cool.
it was kind of nerve-wracking because I couldn't communicate very well.
Yeah.
I just let them do whatever they were gonna do. So that was interesting. Really unique experience.
I don't think I realized that when you went.
Mm-hmm.
That. So obviously you communicate you want a haircut, and then they just did whatever.
Yeah, they did whatever.
Interesting. But then you know what? That might not be a bad thing, since, you know, these guys are probably, they've been in business a long time. They've been doing this for a long time, and then you start to learn like a person's head shape and what looks good on them for a haircut.
Yep.
And then obviously, you know, time of year. If it's hot and it's in the summer, they probably know most men want shorter hair.
Yeah. Yeah, and then more recently I had tried it, and I found that my neck just doesn't take to a blade very good. I get all, it bleeds easily. It gets all red and scratched up. I would do much better with a full beard.
Yeah, I know. I think you were kind of slightly disappointed that it didn't work out, just because, you know, there's kind of something about like once in a while going and treating yourself for a nice shave. And oh yeah, did they heat up the lather? Was
Mhm.
it? Oh, that's nice. Did they put the towel on like hot first too?
One place did, yeah.
So I would think that would make it better for the shaving process, because that kind of opens up the pores better, and then
Mm-hmm.
versus, you know, your skin just being cold and dry. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, that's kind of like a relaxing thing, as long as you're not too scared about them like slitting your throat.
Yeah.
I know that was something that you were scared about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know in the years past I've tried looking up an old short story from when I was in, I don't know if it was middle school or probably not elementary, but there was like an old famous story that a person that, I think it was maybe like Confederate times or something like that, where someone that was the barber realized he has like the general of his enemy general coming in for a shave, and he has that blade to the guy's Adam's apple basically. And determining whether he's going to secretly try to take the general out. And the general
It's
knew
intense.
that he was going to this barber who was really an underground enemy, and so they both put each other's lives in each other's hands. So kind of interesting short story. I could never figure out where it is again, because I'd like to read it again.
Yeah, that's really interesting. But we are getting towards the end of the video, so we're gonna have to wrap things up.
Okay.
So, if you've enjoyed this, don't forget to subscribe, give us a like.
Or maybe you'll know what story I was talking about. And
Yes,
help me.
I know. Yeah, maybe somebody will know. But we'll let you enjoy the rest of the build, and we will see you all next week, everyone. Bye!
bye-bye.